construction industry occupations and its PR pathway. Okay, first of all, constructions occupations. There are a number of building and constructions occupations. On the government of WA Department of Training and Workforce Development, actually they have a long list of what are the occupations under building and constructions. And I just pick up a few that is popular, and we see that some of our clients will get invitation occasionally. Let's divide it into two parts. First of all, the higher education qualification. For higher education qualification, it means bachelor degree or above, bachelor, master by research, doctor. And for higher education qualification, you get a 45 visa for 2 years and plus 1 year of regional extension. So what are the popular course? For example, civil engineering, Bachelor of Engineering. So you will need to do EA full skill assessment, and this skill assessment should be qualification based only. Okay, if you are going for, let's say, civil engineering draft person, then you will need to have a qualification, CDR, and maybe some work experience to show that you are compatible to that occupation. So civil engineering is one of the hardest occupations. And secondly, construction project management. So the relevant qualification will be Bachelor of Construction Project Management, and the occupation will be Construction Project Manager. So the skill assessment will be through RETISs with qualification, relevant field of study, and 1 year of work experience. So it will be a qualification-based and employment-based assessment. Okay, so there are numbers of vocational courses available to lead to the PR pathway under constructions occupations. As I just said, the civil constructions design, for vocational qualification, when you apply for 45 visa, you got 18 months of visa duration. So the course will be under Advanced Diploma of Civil Construction Design for the occupation of civil engineering draft person or civil engineering technicians. Okay. Also, another 1, 2, 3 very popular occupation. First of all, carpentry. Certificate 3 in carpentry. The relevant occupation is carpenter. So this is a 2 years course. Once finished the Cert 3, then you can apply for TRA Job Ready program. Okay. The next one will be tiling. Certificate 3 in wall and floor tiling. So the occupation will be wall and floor tiler. Next one, a bit not that. The work would be, or the study would be more of exercise, would be bricklayings. The qualification will be Cert 3 in bricklayings and block layings. So the occupation, of course, is bricklayer. So these are the 4 very popular occupations under building and constructions. Okay, for the skill assessment, for carpentry, tiling, and bricklaying, the assessing authority is TRA. So once you complete the course, you can apply for professional skill assessment to apply for 45 visa. Then what is the next step? So for the whole Job Ready program, there are 4 stages. The first one will be professional skill assessment. The second will be Job Ready employment. The third one will be Job Ready workplace assessment. The last one will be Job Ready final assessments. You can find all these information on TRA website. But the processing time for the whole process is quite long. So it may take around 15 to 18 months to complete the whole Job Ready program. So we would recommend our client during their study try to get some relevant part-time work. Of course, as a student, you can only work 48 hours per fortnight when you are in a semester. So try to get some work experience, because for the job-ready employment, you can claim up to 3 months of like work experience. So technically, you just like complete 9 months for the job ready workplace assessment and for the final assessments. The processing time is quite long, so sometimes the if you don't prepare ahead, it means when you are on the 45 visa, once you get the final outcome, you may only have a few months left to lodge EOI, to get invitation, and to lodge state nomination, plus the visa application. So if you don't know what to do, make a consultation with us before you finish the course. You can have a consultation with us like during the course to like catch up with the latest changes, or about to finish the qualification. Then we can give you like a full assessment on your background, your qualification, and whether you have like work experience, whether you can claim the work experience for the job ready employment. Okay. One more thing. We have our Migration and Education Conclave 2025 on the 12th of July. You can see the frame, like me inside the frame, showing the details of the date and the location and how to register for this conclave event. This is for free, so register ahead so we can discuss your case more in details during the conclave. Okay, the next one. So under vocational qualification, TRA is one of the skill assessment authority. The other one would be VETASIS, VETASIS skill assessment. It is also a qualification-based and an employment-based assessment. So you may need 1 or 2 years of work experience, depending on whether your qualification is compatible with that occupation and whether you have highly relevant field of study, and it designs how many years of work experience you will need to pass the skill assessment and get a positive outcome. Okay, once you get the full skill assessment or job ready program skill assessment outcome letter, you can then apply for PR through different pathway. So one of the pathway would be General Skilled Migration GSM visa pathway. So you may heard of like 189, 190, 491 invitation, WA invitation, state nomination, like WA allocation. How many places for 190 visa? How many places for 491 visa? Every financial year, the department and the state government, the state nomination will design how many allocation we have for WA and what is the number for 190 visa and what is the place for 491 visa. Okay. Under building and construction occupations is one of the WA priority sectors. So there are some exemptions for the requirement for state nomination. I will explain to you. This is, maybe you cannot see it clearly. This is a pathway for how to go through the GSM and each step. First of all, you will need to, of course, complete the course while you're on a 45 visa, get the full skill assessment or job-ready program assessments. With this skill assessment outcome letter, plus an English test result, then you can lodge the EOI. After lodging the EOI, you need to make sure you keep your EOI accurate and up to date. And once you lodge that EOI, lodging EOI is for free, and that EOI will be valid for 2 years. So if you lodge an EOI and you did not get any invitation for 2 years, then you will need to submit a new EOI. And every time when you submit a new EOI, make sure you enter the correct information. Information needs to be accurate and up to date. Sometimes we can aim for a higher score on English test so that it gives you extra points. And once you get the result, you will need to update all the EOI. In WA, we usually launch multiple EOI, one for 189, one for 190, and one for 491. If for 491 visa, you have like family sponsor stream, then you can launch 4 in total. So after launch the EOI, then wait for invitation. The invitation round, it should be technically every month, and usually the first month of each financial year, for example, July, because we are still waiting for the allocation and see whether there is any changes on the occupation list. Usually July, we don't have any invitation round. So the first invitation round of every financial year should be starting from August. So wait for invitation. If you get invitation 190 and 491 at the same time, then of course you would choose 190. But under 190, there are different streams. We will discuss it later on. So the process of the general skill migration pathway would be course completion, 485 visa, submit a full skill assessment or job ready program, get your English test result, launch EOI, waiting for invitation. Then if you receive invitation, of course, apply for either 190 or 491 state nomination application. The allocation means like how many numbers of state nomination application is available for this financial year. So 190, 491, we have allocation. Be aware that 189, the invitation sent through by the department, so not through Migration Services WA, so it got its own allocation. The allocation we are talking about is only for 190 and 491 visas. After the state nomination approved, then you can apply for the visa. So when you receive an invitation, you should have 28 days to submit the state nomination application. Once the application approved and you have the link to apply for the visa, you have 60 days to apply for the visa. Okay, comparison of general skill migration visas. 189 is skill independent visa. You get invitation based on independent points. It means you have points of your qualification, your age, your English result, whether you study in Australia, whether you study in regional area, whether you have like Australia work experience, whether you have like 4 overseas work experience that you can claim. So the threshold for lodging an EOI is 65 points. For 189 EOI, it didn't give you extra points. For 190 visa, because it's state nomination, it gives you 5 extra points. For 491, it gives you extra 15 points. So for example, if you get 65 points for 189 EOI, it means you will get 70 points on the 190 EOI and 80 points on the 491 EOI. So as I said before, 491 visa, there are 2 different types. One is regional state sponsorship. The other one is relative sponsorship. If you have relative, your family member, your sibling, your uncle residing in WA, and they are willing to sponsor you under this family sponsor stream, then you get extra 15 points. And for the English test result, it's quite important because recently we can see that since this financial year, usually we can see the EOI with higher level of English can get invitation earlier. So for lodging a EOI, you need to get IELTS 6 each or equivalent in PTE, TOEFL, CAE, or OET. So 6 each on IELTS is just a threshold. Only if you can get at least 7 each in IELTS or equivalent in PTE, or at least 8 in IELTS or equivalent in PTE, then you get extra points. So 10 points for at least 7 on each in IELTS, and 20 points for at least 8 in IELTS on each bank. Okay, so 189, 190, a permanent visa. 491, although it's a temporary visa, but it gives you a 5-year visa. You can lodge 191 visa application after you hold 491 and residing in regional area. Okay. So if you have any questions, feel free to make a consultation with us or join our conclave so that we can explain it more clearly to you. So for WA invitation, we have a ranking system. So first of all, your residential location. WA resident got higher ranking than interstate, which means other state or territories, or offshore. So according to Migration WA, interstate and offshore candidate, they got there on the same ranking, and WA resident a higher ranking than interstate and offshore. The next one will be the industry, the sector. So WA priority sector are higher ranking than other sectors. So what are the priority sectors, including building and constructions, education, health, social support, and hospitality and tourism. These are the priority sector. But out of these sectors, building and construction, education, and health are the most of the occupation that we can see now in the past few months are receiving invitation in not that higher points. Okay, the next ranking will be EOI points, and the next one will be EOI submission date. So if you submit an EOI with another candidate and both of you have the same points, it depends on which day you submit the EOI. If you got an earlier lodgement day or submission day than other candidate, then technically you should receive an invitation earlier than the other candidate. Okay, the other PR pathway aside from the general skilled migration would be employer-sponsored PR pathways. Of course, skills in demand visa, subclass 482, employer nominated scheme visa, subclass 186, and skilled employer sponsored regional professional visa, subclass 494, are the four main types of employer sponsored visa that the 45 visa app holder can have an employer willing to sponsor them, and if they can, both the business or the organization, the employer meets the sponsorship requirement and the nomination requirement, and the visa applicant meet the visa requirement, then the department can grant you employer sponsor visa. So first of all, for the 482 visa, the beauty of 482 visa is no age requirement. So you can keep renewing your 482 visa, but it may not give you a PR pathway if you are over 45 years old. So then the other option would be like DARMA or labor agreement. Then we can so every client has their own qualification, employment background, and skill set. So we will need to give advice to you based on your background, your qualification, and your work experience. That's why it's important that you give more information during the consultation so we know what are the visa options for you and which option is a better options for you. So back to the 482 visa, age requirement, no age requirement, and you would need to be nominated for a position by an approved SBS sponsor. The employer must get their sponsorship approved and so for employer sponsor visa, usually there are 3 stages. First stage is SBS, standard business sponsorship, and the next stage is nomination. Only if these 2 approved, then department can grant you an employer-sponsored visa. So the nomination need to be approved, and there are numbers of documents that you will need to prepare for the nomination, then apply for the visa. So for the 482 visa requirement, you need to have relevant qualifications, relevant skilled, and 1 year of work experience in the nominate position or nominate occupation. So that 1 year work experience can be full-time, can be part-time, and can be regular and standard casual work. So yes, that's the 482 visa requirement. For some occupation, if your qualification is not from Australia, you may need to pass a mandatory skill assessment for TSS visa, or now we call SID visa. So some people may think that, oh, I got a qualification in Australia, then it's good. Then you are exempt for the mandatory skill assessment. But for other applicants who don't have Australian qualification, unless they fall into one of the exemptions, otherwise there is a mandatory requirement to provide a skill assessment that is for 482 visas. Okay, one more thing I want to focus. Under building and constructions, there are 3 to 4 occupations that is a licensed occupation. It means for that occupation, you need to hold the license to be able to work as a licensed, for example, plumber, electrician, and the third one will be air conditioning and refrigeration mechanic. These 3 occupations are licensed occupation. So usually for the course, the qualification is for Australian to study. There is not easy for international students to study these courses. However, if you get overseas work experience and qualification, you may be able to pass the skill assessment through OTSR. So the full name is Offshore Technical Skilled Record. That is one kind of skill assessment through your offshore qualification under plumber, under electrician, and under an air conditioning and refrigeration mechanic, so that you can get a professional license first, and then you can undertake an Australian context gap training through supervised practice under an employer. And the next step will be get an Australian vocational qualification for, let's say, for electrician occupations. Okay, these are something that many people may think that, oh, I work as an electrician back in my home country and it's no use at all. No, it can be used only if you can meet certain requirements. Okay, so after you get a 482 visa, your employer can decide how many years of 482 visa they want to sponsor you, from 2 years to 4 years. Usually, we will encourage the employer to give a 3 years visa to their employee, at least 3 years. So after the first 2 years working for that employer, then the same employer can sponsor the employee for 1X6 under temporary residency transition stream. That's what we call TRT stream. So that's why it's important to have a 3-year on 482 visas. So for 2 years, you can then apply for the 1X6, but for 1X6, you still need to go through the nomination process and the visa application process. So it gives you at least 1 year to prepare for the nomination and wait for the 186 visa to be granted while you still have your 482 visa valid to use. Okay, so that is 482 and for the 186 TRT stream. For 186 visa, there is another stream, direct entry stream. If you have relevant qualification, if you get a full skill assessment, and you have 3 years of full-time work experience. The work experience is up after you obtain the qualification. If you have an employer willing to sponsor you, then you may go for 182 direct entry stream. For this stream, definitely you will need an employer to sponsor you. However, the employer doesn't need a sponsorship approved. So basically only 2 stages: nomination and visa application. However, for nomination, the employer will need to provide a number of evidence to prove that company is financially and there is like a genuine need for that occupations. So the next PR pathway will be 494 visa, skilled employer sponsored regional professional visa, 494 visa. So for this 494 visa, again, you need to have qualification. You need to have 3 years of work experience obtained after you get the qualification and skill assessment. After you get the 491 visa, you can apply for 191 visa. For this 191 visa, you don't need an employer to sponsor you. You can apply for this visa if you can meet the 191 visa under the regional professional stream. So you need to work and reside in a regional area. WA is one of the regional area. Then apply for the 191 visa. Of course, you will need to meet general visa requirements such as character requirement, health requirement, and other requirements. Okay, see if we have any questions. Telecommunications sector's job should be under IT, but we will need to look at your qualification and decide which occupation are more relevant to you. Okay, the other guest asking for FRN, can we invite dependent child while parent visa are on bridging visa? So for these 2 questions, these 2 guests please register to join our conclave on the 12th of July, because first of all, your question is about which sector is under. Today, our topic is about building and construction, and technically telecommunications should be under IT. Then we will confirm with you if you can show us your qualification and maybe your CV with like explain to us what your work experience is about. And for the other inquiry, parent visa, and please register to join the conclave. We can give you more details during the conclave. And when you register to attend the conclave, actually you can choose to attend the whole day for different types of visa, or you can choose to only join a particular section. In this case, you can join family visa matters. Then you will see me and Pretty will be at the Novotel Hotel to answer your question in depth, because we can't just like simply answer your questions if we don't know your background and what is the circumstances of you. Okay, let's wait for another minute, see if we have more questions. If not, then it will be the end of this sessions. So the next session will be next week at the same time. As I said, you can register to join our conclave. We have more than 75 registered migration agents there, and more than 60 education consultant is in there. So if we tell you what are the PR pathway for you and what is the relevant course that you can do, so that you can get consultation not only for migration, and it's for education as well. Okay, if no more question, then that's the end of this session. Thank you for joining us, and have a good day and good weekend.